Let's hope the irrational optimists will be 100% correct about 2023. Michael Schneider reports, I hope that I'm wrong about our immediate economic future, and I hope that all of the other respected voices that are warning of economic doom in 2023 are wrong too. It would be wonderful if things turn in a positive direction at some point during the next 12 months, and 2023 turns out to be a year of peace and prosperity for the entire world. Of course, virtually nobody is expecting the year to start well. As I discussed yesterday, there's a growing consensus among the experts that the months ahead will be quite rough. But even though it has become exceedingly obvious that short-term economic conditions will not be good, some optimists are still trying to put a positive spin on things. For example, Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi is trying to convince us that we will only have to endure a slow session before things finally turn around. Many CEOs, investors, and consumers are worried about a recession in 2023, but Moody's Analytics says that the more likely scenario is a slow session, where growth grinds to a near halt, but a full economic downturn is narrowly avoided. Under almost any scenario, the economy is set to have a difficult 2023, Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi wrote in a report on Tuesday. But inflation is quickly moderating, and the economy's fundamentals are sound. With a bit of luck and some reasonably deft policymaking by the Fed, the economy should avoid an outright downturn, he said. Let's hope that he's right on target. And if he does turn out to be correct, let's hold a big celebration next December celebrating what a wonderful year 2023 was. I would be up for that, but I don't think that is the way things will play out. Even now, all of the mega bubbles are starting to burst all around us, and the chaos that we have witnessed in the financial markets is unlike anything that we have seen since 2008. The bubble economy that we have been enjoying for such a long time, was dependent on a very rapidly growing money supply, but thanks to the Fed, the money fountains have now been turned off. In fact, the growth of M2 has just turned negative for the first time in 28 years. Money supply growth fell again in November, and this time it turned negative for the first time in 28 years. November's drop continues a steep downward trend from the unprecedented highs experienced during much of the past 2 years. During the 13 months between April 2020 and April 2021, money supply growth in the United States often climbed above 35% or year over year, well above even the high levels experienced from 2009 to 2013. Since then, the money supply growth has slowly quickened, and we're now seeing the first time the money supply has actually contracted since the 1990s. The last time the year-over-year change in the money supply slipped into negative territory was in November of 1994. At some point, economic conditions will force the Fed to reverse course. But for now, Fed officials remain deeply afraid of inflation, and so we will remain on the current path. What this means is that the early portions of 2023 are likely to look a lot like late 2008 and early 2009. We've already started to see a very alarming wave of layoffs, and this has particularly been true in the tech industry. Tech-driven companies are embarking on a layoff spree the likes of which are not seen since the pandemic, a new report revealed, laying off more than 150,000 workers within the course of a year. The concerning numbers were laid bare in a recently released analysis from Layoffs for Your Information, FYI, which tracks firing in real time through information gleaned in media and company releases. Through these means, the firm found that the technology sector, which had been largely spared in 2020 amid the mass of wave firings when COVID-19 first surfaced, are now among those with the largest numbers of job cuts, with rates increasingly rapidly over the past few months. Sadly, it's likely that there will be even more tech layoffs in the months ahead. In fact, one expert is ominously warning that we will see continued cutting of heads in big tech because they're getting ready for the Category 5 storm that is rapidly approaching. Wedbush Securities Managing Director Dan Ives shared a similar sentiment about the 2023 economy on Mornings with Maria Tuesday, cautioning big tech companies will need to rip the Band-Aid off in terms of layoffs as a Category 5 storm threatens the macroeconomic landscapes. Look, a lot of big tech, they were spending money like 1980s rock stars. And I think that really shows, I've explained. Sometimes they were increasing 15-20% a year. I still think it's a rip the Band-Aid off. Still some more head count cuts. We think potentially another 8 to 10% head count cuts in big tech. You look at what happened with Meta, and that's a good example. Once Zuckerberg finally read the room, cut in terms of what he needed to do, stock ultimately lifted, I think, but be that as a catalyst, I think you will see a continued cutting of heads in big tech because they're getting ready for the Category 5 storm in terms of what we're seeing with the macro. I don't like the sound of that. Could we really see a Category 5 economic storm in 2023? Yes, we could. But once again, let's hope that the irrational optimists will be correct and that such a storm can be avoided somehow. Ultimately, many of the irrational optimists are entirely convinced that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with our system and that just a few minor adjustments are all that's needed to get us back on the road to endless prosperity. On the other hand, there are people like me that are entirely convinced that our system is fundamentally unsound and that it's inevitable that the entire Ponzi scheme will eventually come crashing down all around us. Normally, most Americans tend to be quite optimistic about the coming year, but this year is different. According to Gallup's survey that was just released, approximately 80% of U.S. adults believe that 2023 will be a year of economic difficulty. We offered opposing outcomes on each issue. About 8 in 10 U.S. adults think 2023 will be a year of economic difficulty with higher rather than lower taxes and a growing rather than shrinking budget deficit. More than 6 in 10 think prices will rise at a high rate and the stock market will fall in the year ahead, both of which happened in 2022. In addition, just over half of Americans predict that unemployment will increase in 2023, an economic problem the U.S. was spared in 2022. But maybe 2023 won't be so bad after all. Maybe our leaders will be able to find a way to re-inflate all of the old bubbles one more time. We better hope that they have one final miracle up their sleeve because the alternative would not be pleasant at all. It's finally here. Michael's new book entitled End Times is now available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. About the author, he says, my name is Michael Snyder. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 70-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media on Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely great help. These are such troubled times, and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. Quote, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life, end quote. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Economic Collapse blog Michael Schneider. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.